Hey, everybody, tune in to Recent Tartarians.
Recent Tartarians. Recent Tartarians. Recent Tartarians. Recent Tartarians.
Hey, everybody, tune in to Recent Tartarians.
Recent Tartarians. Recent Tartarians.
V Gates! What's up, everybody? I'm Andreas. Welcome to the show. This is Neuropa. Raphael is with me, and then below we have
Hey.
Joe, as above, so below. Joe, how are you doing? V Gates.
You need to unmute yourself.
Oh, that's true. This is a fact. Here. The little red button there. I dig your hat.
Hello,
That hat
everybody.
is cool. How are you? How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thanks. How are you?
Pretty
Everybody's
good.
good. Yeah.
So where are you right now? Vosinci.
You mean that by the nation's name?
Yeah, whatever I mean exactly is so much less
Yeah.
important than what you mean by it.
I'm on I'm on the planet. Yeah, let's call it the planet.
All right. There'll be like at least half of the audience that are upset about that because they're flat earthers. So, but are you,
Yeah.
are you,
Planet. There's the word plane in it, no? So it's
Yeah.
plane.
Plan 8
it's a plane.
geometry? I'm a strong
Yeah,
believer
so-
in this too.
Yeah, that's the point.
I agree. I'm in a Plan 8 structure as well. But you talked earlier, this is about Imagination Nation. So
Yeah.
maybe we can start with a little explanation about your opinions on statehood and human individual freedom and things like that.
Yeah, well, we are all born as children of God to begin. And we as a whole spirit, the whole mankind as a communal spirit, made that through the centuries or through the last generations, that the paper was made more and more important. So we got under a paper fictionary slavery, and I left that by sending an affidavit of truth to the government, telling them that my person, my legal fiction, is no longer filled with my spiritual life, whatever. So there's no life anymore in the fiction. And
So you
I call myself-
exorcised your spirit out of a legal person? Is like a exorcism.
yes, because the only life in the legal fiction comes through my belief in it. So when you stop believing in the fiction and you want the truth, then you have to decide which way you follow. Do you follow the fiction? Because in the fiction you will never find the truth. Or you follow the truth, then you have to leave the fiction. So there's you can't follow both tunnels, rabbit. This is
Right.
not possible. And freedom, as we hold it in our concept of freedom, means legally, when you read it by the definition of freedom says no borders. So you have to the possibility to what's the word in English, to fulfill yourself without borders. This is freedom. The
Unrestriction.
legal
Right.
definition, and this is very important because the whole system bases on the definitions of the words. So when they say there is no border for freedom, then you can't find this freedom inside a legal border, which means any kind of legal concept, there's a legal frame around it. And this legal frame hinders you to be free as they define it. So when you really want to be free, you have to leave anything that is called positive law, man-made law. You have to leave that behind. Only then you can find the true freedom you're looking for. Well, and that's the journey until here so far.
And so this is your YouTube channel, Freeman Austria, is that right?
Yeah, Freeman Austria.
And so what do you cover for the most part? I mean, like I see like lessons on different things here.
Yeah, what do I cover? This is a whole kind of a journey that I made the last 10 years. We've been talking in our talks. That's what you opened here. we've been talking about God and the world, like we say in German. God and the world. This means that God and the world are two separate things, you know. You, it will be hard to find God in the world, because the world has forgotten about God, as we say. So, well, the whole story ends in the it ends in the picture. Let's call it a picture, because we all know the picture. It ends in the picture of the resurrections of the dead. Like Matrix, the fourth part now was called Resurrections. What we're doing here is playing the biblical roles of the resurrecting. This is the resurrecting what we are doing here. We are leaving the tomb, going back to the Father, out of the legal system. And we have been enslaved by Egyptian slavery system. This is very nice, because a lawyer in the German language is abbreviated by the letters R and A. Ra, Rechtsanwalt.
Right.
And this shows very, very clearly how the human brain, or the human spirit, is enslaved by a system, and you can call it Egypt, because you are chipped by a passport, by a telephone. You are chipped, and you are E, because we say E to ourselves. In the German language, we say E.
Oh yeah.
We say I, like you do. So this is another direction. When you come from the outer side and tend to the inner side, then you will call yourself I. When you come from the inner side and you tend to the outer side, you will call yourself Iya, and you speak Russian. So this is the other direction you're calling yourselves.
Yeah, tibia. Yeah, it's interesting. The Russian.
This is very interesting, because that's the reason why you struggle. Because
these people, we think they're so backwards, right? Why do we think people are so backwards?
it's the other direction.
Yeah.
And by the way, the English language says ear to the hearing organ. Ear. So this is kind of funny, because every time the Russian says I, sounding ear, the English speaking person must listen to that. So this screams for like agencies like CIA, FBI, and to NSA to listen to the Russians, because anytime he says ear, the English speaking person hears ear.
Right.
And so on and so on. This is very, very interesting to look into the languages from this point of view. Well, yeah, this is a song I played the other things.
Yeah, but these are pretty, big videos that are cover. So you're covering the uniformity of symbols, even in different meanings. The fact that we see Ra in English and Egyptian and in German, the fact that we see ear and ya and like forwards and backwards symmetry to these. So there definitely is a connection. We feel like we're so different and discommunicated in Babylon, but it seems like it's all discommunication about a true thing or an objective.
Yeah, what we do is we express ourselves by using the sound. And this, from this point of view, we are all the same. This is the reason why we can learn each other's languages, because we are the same in the potential. So depending on where you're born, you will learn the language, and you are able to learn 3 to 5 to 10 languages at the same time, depending on the surrounding you have. So we are beings, creatures, sharing the same possibility to express their feelings, their thoughts by using vowels, like their vowels and consonants. This is the toolbox. And I studied the meanings of the single tools. because the meanings must be the same in any language. So when you say hui, then it probably means the same like when I say hui, because we never learned that in school. It's the same by hurting oneself. Once you hurt yourself, you will instantly shout like ow or I, ow. This comes from ourselves, from our inner things. You don't learn that in school. Or when you say uh-huh, or what do you say to a door that won't open? What do you say to the door? Because the door won't hear you, but you say something to the door. You say, anywhere on the planet, everybody would say to a chest that won't open. So here we are all the same. And the difference is the difference is in my studies, the definition or the sound that you choose for yourself. There the difference begins in the sound for yourself. The symbol for the sound for yourself would be the ankh in the Egyptian hieroglyphs. The ankh, the symbol for the meaning for yourself, or the sound for yourself. Yes, because this could be anyone in the circle, any face. Put in any face, and the rest is a body.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on how you call yourself, like the English-speaking say I, the Russians say ia, the Germans say ich or I, like we do here. I. This is very central. I. The Italians say io, or the Chinese say uo. The Arabs say ana for I, ana, which means in German one, just one, ana, one of them, and so on and so on. So this is the point in creation where you put yourselves by using a sound for yourself. This is the difference. And once you start to identify with that sound, then you start to speak differently, to cook differently, to dance differently, to build your houses differently, and so on. All the cultural differences between men, I would say, start at the beginning of the sound for yourself, because it's all identification.
So you had brought this up earlier, the idea of the I and ich in German being different than the English I is different than the German ich. How what did you mean by that?
Well, relating to my studies, the E, the sound E, that you write as a different letter than we do in German, the E, because for you is the E is the fifth letter. And this is, you call that letter that you show actually.
Do you mean, I was about to say, do you mean?
This is in English, this is an E.
This is so annoying. This is the most annoying thing about English.
Yeah,
I don't know. English is very annoying, but the fact that our letters are named different things and the sounds make is so counterintuitive.
Yes, so this is the reason why it's so hard for an English-speaking person by looking for the truth, to find the truth, because you are so distracted by the sound or by the symbols for your sounds.
Right.
So this is called E, what you show now. So at least in the German language.
Which is, so think about the eMac, right? The iMac is such a famous computer, but it made total sense to call it the iMac or the iPod.
Well,
the
once you hear that very slowly, when you say iMac, and you would write it down for a little child, then you would have to use the letter A first. I.
Right.
I. And that's the reason why, yes.
Do you know, if you let me see if I can find this really quickly. If I go to translation Google and I type in love in English and translate it to Chinese, I it's
I
yeah. AI. That's AI is love in Chinese. I mean, how that says something.
Yeah, well, in Spanish, it would mean, or in French, it would mean there, over there.
Oh,
Ahí,
right. In China, French.
with an H in the middle. Ahí.
Oh, right. Or HIE. I can't do it.
Ahí. Ahí.
Hated. There's so every version you
There
can do,
is.
everyone.
This is Spanish. I. No hay de que. I. No hay de que. Es. There is.
Oh yeah, Spanish.
Yeah. It is. There is.
Yeah. So there's so many examples of that sound being used, and it means in different directions, like to have, either as a possession, like no I or no here, also is known to be here, and then also to be love. I mean, so they're kind of different symbols, but they're possessives. They're associated with possession.
When you say in English, when you say here I am, here, then you say in a second meaning that you're listening. Here I am, here, and you don't mean that at the moment when you say here I am, but at the same time your spirit says that you are listening.
Yeah,
I'm here, and this is the point where you listen at the same time, where you say that you are at a special point in the universe. So in that expression, there are two meanings at the same time. First, the positioning, and then the status. I'm listening here, because once when somebody calls me Joe, then my answer is here, and I'm listening.
I noticed, like, when people answer the phone, right? Americans, and I think British people tend to say hello, kind of like Germans, hello, which comes from like like a blessing, right? To bless somebody, hallowed, like holy.
Yes.
And in a lot of Eastern European countries and in Latin America, you just say like good, like bueno, or dobro, or something, like just to the extent of either the connection is good, like the connection's good, like you can.
Yes. Here we go.
Right. But it's still good. Like, to say good is better. I mean, they're both kind of similar ideas, because at this point, no one means God bless you when they say hello. Not enough people mean it. And
I forgot that.
And when people say dobro or bueno, I don't know if they really mean. Did they really mean things are good?
Pronto means I'm ready.
Yeah, pronto's good. I like that one.
Yeah. And I like the sound to telephone, because in German we say the same word, telefonieren, but once you forget that there is a language called German, and you just hear the sound telef on ear, then you hear what's happening. Tel F on ear.
Oh, telephone ear, phone ear.
Tel F on ear. So what are you telling? Yeah, the F. What is the F? What does the F mean? And so there's something beginning to turn around, to spiral. This is the F, a beginning in igniting. That's the word. An igniting sound. Like a small child, once it wants the wheel to turn, would say to the wheel, so that it would start turning.
So there's a thing, Kiki and Boba, in anthropology, they study these shapes, and for the most part around the world, people see, when you ask them which one is Kiki and which shape is Boba, which one is Kiki?
Which one is Kiki?
Yeah.
yeah, for my things now, it's the left one.
Yeah, the pointy. This is like Kiki, and then this is Boba.
Yeah.
Is that the way you see it? Most people see it that the pointy shape is Kiki, and the curvy shape is Boba. From the studies that they've shown on people, they assume
cool.
that the soft shape would be Boba.
Yeah.
And there's a natural logic to this. And we see it in karate, but also in many forms of martial arts. When they kick, they're like Kia, it's all about the K sound, the ka, a very strong sound.
Yes.
And
the K is in the clip art. There's the K. And the B, this both, you can see that.
How?
The hard angles.
On the image itself, you can see the letters on the picture.
Yeah.
The letters are inside the picture, the lines.
You see there, you could make
go back
a K.
here.
Yes, you can make a K instantly out of the left one.
Yeah.
And you could make a B out of the other one.
Well, dang. Good point.
So it's written there. It's written there.
Now it feels less impressive. Just for years I didn't even think of that, but that's a good point. Yeah, the K is made out of pointed shapes.
Yes.
What about though? So like Sanskrit ka, if you go to the ka sound, the ka sound has a no, like that's too strong of a ka. Hold on. The ka sound, right? So this is the ka sound in Sanskrit versus the ba sound in Sanskrit. BHA probably. Ba, right? And so even the ba in ancient Sanskrit has a very B-like quality to it, where the ka sound has a kick to the end of it, right? I mean, this is swirled and it's written by priests to make it look prettier. So you can imagine it probably even was, if it was carved originally, less swirly and less soft. But both of these symbols are kind of similar in a sense. So like thousands of years later, they still seem to point out that same idea.
Well, in my studies, the sound K as a K, ka, derives from the house of Taurus.
That's been coming up a lot recently. Hold on. House of Taurus.
Taurus.
So how?
Yeah. And the symbol of Taurus looks pretty like the symbol that you just showed me. When you put the T behind for Taurus and add the symbol of the Taurus together, then you nearly have the sound, the Sanskrit symbol,
right,
for the K.
I see it as well.
And Aries is the ram, the letter B. And this looks also very similar on the symbol, the symbol of Aries. You see that? Totally. The spiral.
And actually, in some later that's funny, because in some later versions of Sanskrit, they have a proportional, more like the Aries symbol, and the sounds got confused, and people were confusing B's and K's, and ba, va, wa, and ka all have confusions by Phoenicians. There were different groups that make they switch the sounds.
Yeah, and we have been mistraced by the ABCD concept, because it can't sound ABCD, it must sound ABKD, ABKD, because the C pronounced like in the word clown should sound K, not C, because the C needs an S and an E, which both are not available yet to describe. So once you spell the alphabet, you have to stop on the letter C and listen and say, oh no, that's not possible. There is no S yet to call it, to name it.
They really
And
should call it something else, like the
yeah,
absidefal kekel monopoly for
the abacada, bra, abacada. So it should be a K. It should not be a C. And then
C
the
is the
B and the
evil.
C.
What's the deal with the letter C? That is such a tricky letter. I don't trust it. I mean, you've been around Europe. You've seen how much the C is like this double agent. It's in Eastern Europe. It's in Western Europe. It does the cake. It does the Czechoslovak. It's in every sound.
Yeah, it's the Holy See. It's the Holy See. The Holy. We're talking about the Catholic Church.
Oh, programming language written in C as well. I mean, C just is a magical symbol that can do anything.
Yeah.
C can do anything.
The C, but the sound for the C should be K, because C is built of two other letters, especially the S and the E from the sound. It's not the K.
The C comes from the gimel or the gamma. The Semites named it gimel. The sign is adapted from the Egyptian hieroglyph for the staff sling. Copyright. Everything about the C freaks me out. I've never liked the C ever, all my whole life. Ever. I don't like the letter C. I just don't trust it. If it did the sound ch and nothing else, if like C was for Czechoslovakia and nothing else, that would be fine. But that it's but I mean, right? But it's not. And even then it needs an H. It's always so tricky.
Yeah.
Celtic could be a Q. I don't understand.
Yeah, we have to divide the meanings of the symbol and the meaning of the sound, because these are different.
These are all the sounds that C can make. Ts, ts, f, g, k, s, z, s, ts, k, s, k, t. I mean, this is out of control. I mean, how many?
No, wait. You have to look differently on that.
Kp, also kp is the thing.
The C is used to symbolize all the different sounds.
Mm-hmm.
This would be the correct
regarding. Good point. The symbol is being misused for already existing sounds. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Agreed.
Because the sounds are the doers, the DJs, the musicians. The sounds do it, not the letters. The letters are just symbols. It's the sounds, and the symbol is used to write the sound onto the paper. And there are many different sounds that are, for which the C is being used. But in the alphabet, the third sound should be K instead of C. So because it's Aries, Taurus, Gemini, and so it's the B, the K, and the D in the right order.
Or with the Greeks, it could be gamma, right? Because the gimel becomes a C, so it could be alpha, beta, gamma, and then delta, epsilon, and then that would be fine. But then H, I, J, those could all be one letter, and then K, that's where K would come in. I would think
That's the wrong position for the K.
K is too far deep in. You want K to be the third letter. Why is K before G? Alpha, beta, gamma versus alpha, beta, kappa. Like why?
Well, what I was doing was I was looking for the letters in the holy wheel, in the circle of
in the zodiac,
the meanings.
Yeah.
Because once you find out that the colors of the light that we see, the colors of light are divided by the angle that the light enters into the prism. And so light is being divided by the different angles of their nature.
Mm-hmm.
So red has a different angle than blue out of white. And so this is the reason why you can see the rainbow, because the different colors have different waves and spread out in different angles.
But you see,
And
our
so-
Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer. So wouldn't that be Alpha, Beta, Gamma, and then Kappa?
Well, not really, because we have the vowels and we have the consonants.
Mm.
These are different beings. We have the 5 vowels that are called A, E, I, O, U. In English, I, O, U. I, O, U. Do you know that? Do you,
Right? A, E,
sounds
I, O,
like-
U. Yeah. I, O,
it sounds
U.
familiar. You could also spell that Yehovah. And you hear the Yehovah. This is Jehovah. Or you can say, oh yeah. Then it's differently. It's oh yeah. I-O-U. Oh yeah. Yehovah.
It's
So
weird
it
how
sounds-
English has 5 vowels, Sanskrit has 14.
Yeah. There are many vowels we don't use. Like, for example, the we told before. Is another vowel. We don't use that, but it exists. We need it for expressing the or the
Mm-hmm.
because otherwise you wouldn't hear that when I close my lips and want to say without the in the background, you wouldn't hear that.
Someone
so-
brought up Iowa. I like Iowa because this is a state and it just seems like such a weird name, Iowa, but really it's Jehovah. It is the-
Yehovah. Yeah.
yeah, because it's the J is the Latin for an I, and it's Jesus. It has to do with Jehovah and God.
Yes.
There's a lot of places that have these names that they're from such an ancient point that we still pronounce them the way that they could be.
Well, I did a drawing. Actually, I'm not able to show that to you.
Oh, do you have?
It's-
If you have a
it's in
link,
my-
you could share it in the chat, or if you
It's
know
in
where.
the Telegram group,
Okay.
and it's called Holy Wheel. And I put the letters into the circle.
Do you want to, Raph, if you can find it and send it to me
Yeah.
in Telegram?
I'm doing that.
Cool.
Ja, in die Medien, Raphael. Ich glaube, es war irgendwann Mitte Oktober 2021. Da hat die Sarah das einkopiert in die Medien.
Okay. Freeman Austria auf Telegram, oder?
Freeman
andere
Austria
Sachen?
auf Telegram, genau.
Ja, passt, ich
Das ist
schau.
dieser Winkelkreis, der klingende Winkelkreis. And yeah, just for the understanding, we have the 5 vowels, and each vowel carries like 3 consonants. And this is the reason for the A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. So these are the vowels and the 3 consonants.
So
But there are some traps, like the K, which is in the wrong place in our alphabetical order. Yeah,
K should be 3. Interesting.
yeah.
But what about G? Where does G go then? Right
You got
after
the
K,
image,
or-
Andreas, in your Telegram.
Okay, hold on.
The G derives from the house of the lion, the Leo, the house of the sun, where the sun reigns.
I'm not seeing it. Do you want to just send it in the Zoom chat?
It's already sent. I'm
It's-
not sure
I-
if there's.
I think it's because I'm updating.
Okay, I'll find a way.
It's updating the Telegram app. But if you send it in the Zoom chat, I can find it. I don't know why it's just doing this. Check really quickly. Okay, here we go. I got it. Now how do I open this in Zoom? Okay, wait. Telegram. This will do it. Okay, can you see this?
Yeah, here it is.
Great.
Yeah,
So this is
And-
the way the alphabet should be?
this is the way, from my point of view, that the alphabet derives out of creation.
Hmm.
The sounds, starting on the left with the spring equinox, and then coming over out of the house of Aries by the force of Mars with the B. B. In German, it means ich bin, I am, ich bin, in. So the activating of consciousness starts here, out of the middle, over the B, into the K, into the D. So it's Aries, Taurus, and Gemini defining the qualities of the sounds of the letters. And they are doing the music on the stage. The A, the vowel A is so to say the color of the stage, the lighting on the stage. But the musicians are the consonants. They're doing the work. And you see the G would be like fixed fire, while the K is fixed earth in astrological terms.
And why is the J, L, and M surrounding the I? How do they work that way?
They are the connectors into creation out of the middle. The J, because the sound, the English sound for the letter J is another trap, because it's not called J, it's called Y. Y, like the Germans do. Y. And once you do that, then you hear that the sound Y derives from the connecting, from the inner sound, the E, into the other vowels. Like when you come from the E to say Ia, then the J comes out of nothing. You hear that sound, or you say Io. Once you go from the E to another vowel, then always the J is the combiner of the two. You cannot come out of the E, out of the middle, without the J. So this is the first connector, the left angle, not the right angle like the L, it's the left angle, the J, connecting to God, the Yot. Yot is German for an expression in German for God. Yot, Yuta Yot. Well, and the LMN are the connectors to the other stages, like the stage of creation, where you see all the magnificence of creation in the L, and the LMN in combining are building the element. So this is the creation that we see. The letter A is a very spiritual letter because it has no resonance in the body. When you close your ears and vowel all the 5 different vowels, then you see that the letter A has no material resonance. It's very empty. When you hear the O, then the whole skull vibrates with the sound. But the letter A can't do that because it's a pure spirit. There is no material resonance in the letter A.
The whole thing's like, it's interesting. I like the circle approach because it makes more sense to arrange the letters not in a row, but complementing each other like colors like this. Like the K and the G here are complementing the Cha and the Urs.
Yeah, look at the opposites. The electrical B stands in opposition to the magnetical P, or the electrical D stands in opposition to the magnetical T. So it's always the other side, electric, magnetic. The F and the V, which is nearly the same sound, but the F carries the fire, while the V has no fire. It's just a V. It's not a F. It's only a V. And so on. Yeah.
Right. And on the other sides too, like the D, the F, and the V and the T. Like the fact that they're, the B and the B and the ba, tha, the ba, ta, and then the ha, pa are also like connected ideas that connect the fa. So it's
this is a very holistic approach to that what we're doing here. The expression of sound.
This is a good thing. So what do you think? Why don't they teach the alphabet like this? Why do they try to make it so complicated? It takes like an extra year to train the kids. The alphabet song and then what the letters really sound like. And
Yeah.
is this
What's the
part of
reason?
some plot to make it harder for people to understand themselves and each other?
Yeah, isn't that all a great lie that we're coming out? Why do you expect the lie to tell you the truth? Otherwise, you couldn't find out the truth.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting though, because these sounds really do affect us so much. And we have, all across Europe, different languages, but you drive across Europe, you see these letters everywhere. And it's supposed to be the thing that we're trying to harmonize. Our understanding is backwards, rather than by trying to connect with the meanings of these things. Like, oh, we all know what lunchtime is. Instead, we're reading the symbol on the word, and it says there's 6 different C's with slanted lines over them all over Europe, and we're supposed to just understand what the symbols mean and make those symbols universal in our own experience, change our experiences to match the symbol. It's a very backwards approach.
Yeah.
Maybe
Very upside down.
Just as you asked the question of where does this come from, maybe Joe, because I brought it up a few times with this bishop being angry at you, the very short version, maybe you want to tell the story a little bit and tie it into the whole thing, also so everyone can understand how much language and, let's say, the matrix system, both in an abstract sense, but also in the quite concrete legal sense, actually are related, and how you kind of made that breakthrough, at least for yourself, which is all that matters, I guess.
I think I didn't really understand what you wanted.
What I'm saying is, because you're turning well, the next thing that would come up, of course, is the church again and the education system and so on. And I had brought up on the show earlier, at least the story you told me, that through your understanding of the legal system and even the, I want to say, I don't know any other word for it, whatever laws people may think there are, that you actually got feedback from a bishop. And just because I had mentioned this earlier, I was asking you to maybe recount that story and then show how this very much connects, because talking about the syllables, even though everyone can understand abracadabra, I speak so I manifest, and the way you explain it with being fire, I mean, if you really imagine that, everyone can kind of grasp a little bit that this has a real connection, let's say, to manifested reality. But in your case and in your story, there is an even much more concrete connection and happenings because you were cracking the code. And I would like the viewers maybe to understand a little bit more in your example, what happened then, what this bishop said, how you came about it. So they show that this is not just a nice intellectual exercise, but you have very concrete results from the path that you had taken.
Okay. Well, what I was doing was, once I found out that the church had very much to do with all that slavery on the planet, I sat down and wrote a handwritten letter to the bishop. And in that letter, I mentioned my ambitions and my studies, what I found out, and that I was leaving the system. And the bishop wrote back to me that he read my letter very, very carefully. So, which meant for me that I have to read carefully what he's writing. And he said that he feels sorry for, not feel sorry, he can't find it, he can't bless that, or he can't find it good what I do to leave.
He cannot condone it. Condone, I think, would be the word.
Okay,
yeah.
condone it. He cannot condone it. That I would leave the system. He cannot condone that. And that he has no chance to cancel all that debts that are on the legal person. So this was
So he can, let me get this right. So a priest or a minister, so he can forgive you for murder, but he can't forgive a legal person of debt.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
So this is not his. This is this seems not to be his obligation. He can't do that. So someone else is in the position to do that. He can't do that.
He only has so much power.
Yeah, but follow the money. Follow the
He
money.
can absolve your soul. That's no problem.
Yeah.
But takes extra effort to.
Yeah, that's too worldly. Well, anyway, what he wrote me was that I was leaving the system. So he sanctuated that indirectly by declaring that I cannot condone that you are leaving the system. I didn't want more. This was enough for me.
So he can't advocate it, but he's admitting you are leaving the system.
Yeah, yes.
And also just
Okay.
because someone just wrote condone, and I sorry for the reference, condom, haha.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like I actually like we would think about it, it's like not approving, but with that word, I mean I chose the word now, yeah. But still it's like he cannot prevent you from leaving.
What he was saying in German was gutheißen.
Yeah.
Er kann nicht gutheißen.
Give good approval, advocate. He couldn't advocate. Okay.
He couldn't advocate that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so that was enough for me that he wrote that. And so there was no other what's the word? There was no other power, that I found to be above me when the church says, okay, you are leaving, I cannot change that. Then this was all for me, and I didn't need any more. And since then, I act and try to live as a child of God. So I left the nation, I left the legal system, I left the Christ that was put over me like a cheesecake things, the Glocke, a bell, like a cheese bell. Is that the word in English? I don't know.
Cheese bell.
Yeah, Jezebel.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm still my mind for a second still on Gutheißen because
Cheese dome is one translation. I don't know if that's the word.
Cheese dome works. Yeah, it works. Yeah.
Cheese
has. But they've got the Gutheißen would also refer to Heißen is like called, right? To I can't goodly call you this.
Yeah.
So I can't
I can't call it good. I can't define it as good.
Yes, that's the meaning.
Is that what it is? Okay, because
Yeah.
it's either I can't call it good, or I can't rightfully call it. I can't goodly call something this. I can't well call it.
Yeah. It's the same with me with the church,
Mm-hmm.
I can't call good what they are doing or they have been doing, but I can change it anyway.
Right.
So I acknowledge that they are doing that, even if I don't find it good, but they are doing it and I can change it. Okay. And that's the same in the other direction. The bishop says, okay, I don't find it really good that you are going, but he says, I'm going. That was it. He can't do anything about it like I can't do it in the other direction. Yeah, and so that was the way. And sometime later, I came to the conclusion that the date, the Catholic date, like the calendar and all the years that this is also Catholic Church. It's a Gregorian calendar.
So, it's a Gregorian mythology, actually.
Yeah. So I left that calendar, at least in my consciousness. I say, when there is a date on a form or a contract or whatever, I would understand that date. I would put the date above me, because I say now is the time of things and things, 2000, anyone, and this is not eternity. The date is not eternity. I left the calendar into eternity. I would write down eternally me. You know.
Yeah, it's true. They always do
In
copyright in
the
the
love of
year.
God.
They always put copyright
Yeah.
in the current year. I mean, instead of eternity, seems like eternity would make more sense, especially for copyrights.
So I'm not in a year, and I'm not on a date, because I am the living spirit and I'm eternal. Yeah, this was a great change for me to find out. You know, there is the tale of the 7 goats.
The 7 goats. Don't know this one. How's it go? Tell me the story of the 7 goats. Let me pull them
7
up.
goats, the wolf and the 7 goats.
The wolf and 7 goats?
Yeah.
No, I don't know the story. Tell me the story. I'm excited. This is a Halloween story, I hope, with these
There is
goats.
that goat, and she has 7 kids, and she has to leave to buy some goods, and she says, "Don't open the door, don't open the door." And the wolf, when she's gone, the wolf comes and eats some chalk to get a nice voice, and says, "Yeah, your mommy is back. Open the door." But the kids won't open. The kids won't open. And finally, he makes it. The kids open the door, and the wolf eats all 6. But the 7th, he couldn't find the 7th thing. And the 7th goat hid in the clock. So the last
Are you
goat,
kidding me? This is the best story I've ever heard. I love this story so far.
yeah.
There's a goat hiding in a clock. What, like the town clock or the clock in the,
Yeah,
in the cabin?
it was a tall clock.
Oh
like
my
big,
gosh. The goats and the clock. Okay.
Yeah, and that's how the story ends. So
Greatest of all
they
time,
all
right?
survived. They all survived because the 7th was in the clock.
That's how
And-
the story ends, or does it? You know what I mean? Right. That goat.
Well, you know, the clock is very symbolic because we're talking about Satan. We're talking about Saturn. We're talking about Chronos.
Mm.
And Chronos is the timekeeper. And once God would fall asleep for, let's say, thousands of years, for half of the circle, because the one half is the electric circle and electric half, and the other half is the magnetic half. So while it's magnetic, maybe God is sleeping, and when it's electric, God is waking up. And who could you give the control while you fall asleep when you're God? And you could only give it to the time. You say time, like we do in the night when we fall asleep. We give the control over to the timer, to the clock, and we say, okay, you take care. I fall asleep, and you take care and wake me up when it's time. And so the human spirit gave the control over the ages to the time. To Chronos.
Have you seen the noon is 9 thing? You know that this just came up the other day, that originally the clocks didn't go to 12 at midnight and noon, but at dawn and dusk, and that they've moved it from dawn and dusk, which would make sense, right? Dawn, the dawn's a new day, and then, but now they've said it's the middle of the day, which is very confusing.
Yeah, and the mid of the night, and they are.
I have to get up at 6. Oh, you know what I mean? Which is just so crazy, because it would just be dawn.
That's right. That's right. And so once you leave that concept as well, because it's a concept, then where are you at? When you leave all the human concepts, you have creation, and you have what you see. You see that it's getting light in the morning and getting dark in the evening, and once it's longer and then it's shorter. This is what we see. And when we get up with the sun and go to sleep with the sun when it gets down, this would be a very natural rhythm for us, to be long awake in the summer and to be long asleep in the winter.
Instead, people are getting sick, and people get heart attacks because of the changing of daylight savings and all this other stuff.
Well, the heart attacks, there is I have an idea for that, because especially the heart is between your ratio, your brain, where you have all the thoughts, what you have to do, what you should do, what you shouldn't do, what's expected from you, and so on. And in your guts, which is the other way down, in the same distance from the heart, in your guts there is what you want, not what you should, but what you want. And when this is in a conflict with each other, when you shouldn't do what you want, or when you want what you shouldn't, and so on, this is the reason for the heart collapsing, because it's exactly in the middle between what you want and what you should, or what you shouldn't and what you want. I think this is the most heavy problem for people on earth, that they should do what they wouldn't, and in the other way.
Right. It's kind of funny, the do it thou wilt kind of satanic law versus if something is good, you ought to make it happen. And if something is wrong, you ought to stop it.
Yeah, and you're not supposed to, because society and things. This is a very, very heavy risk for people.
Hmm.
The heart attack.
There's a glitch. You might repeat that, please.
The civilization disease number 1, heart attack.
Yeah. So do you think what's the biggest problem then? Like our natural rhythms of day and night? I mean, obviously that kills plants. Or is it our inability to communicate? Or is there another bigger problem?
I think the biggest problem is the clinging to a fictional reality.
Yes, I agree.
Because
as we introduce the metaverse from Facebook,
yeah, the clinging to a false reality, because the spirit, the eternal spirit, tends to truth, is a truth seeker, addicted to truth, a riddle solver, and once you find out that there is a riddle, there is a force in you that enforces you to solve that riddle. So looking for the truth, and once you find out that you are stuck in a mud of lie, then you will probably get sick. Yeah.
I mean, people spend so much time trying to perpetuate their lie, like the false reality that's breaking down around them. They're always patching the boat the fake reality that they're living in that's sinking all the time.
Yeah, expanding the universe. Yeah. Maybe they, who do we mean by they? But let's say they. It's a part of the human spirit, of the all one spirit. But they are killing time by expanding. I think we saw that in different movies, like I don't know the English name of the movie, Die Bestimmung. Raphael, maybe you know that, Die Bestimmung. There was very, very clearly shown that some powers are watching from outer sides how different human creatures develop. And once from...
Divergent it's called.
Danke. Das war, glaube ich, nur eine Folge.
Yeah, it's a film. Yeah, it's a movie. This one about the different types. Yeah.
Yes. And they show it very clearly in that movie. That
is it like X-Men or?
Well, there are some undefined citizens in the...
Yeah, if I remember well, it's like everyone is in the cast. It's also like, interestingly, I don't know, socially or biologically eugenics, one could argue. And then if I remember correctly, there is one particular group which had this kind of marker. It doesn't fit in any caste.
Yes.
So it's divergent. It's the aberrant. And then you can interpret that in different ways. But
Yeah.
actually, interestingly, I just want to bring it up. Carrie Cassidy of Project Camelot, whom you, Andreas, should also interview at some point, totally. She always brings up this meme as a positive thing in terms of there are those who seek for something different that is not in the established order. Maybe that's a way to put it.
Yeah. And the watchers, let's say the powers outside that watch the experiment that happens here, they are looking for a special force to come from itself, from sui generis in Latin, out of itself. And this is what we're talking about once we're talking about resurrection, the second coming of Jesus, that from inside the spirit, the force explodes from itself, like phoenix, the rising out of the ashes. And this has been waiting for a very long time. They have collected our data and have been looking for when and where it would happen on the planet, because we are many.
There is even, I'm just bringing it up in a generic sense, but the whole question, I'll put it generically now, of the recent crises, let's say, and to what extent some people interested in ET and other things have said this, to what extent this was actually mainly, and there is even proof about this, I think, right now, a sampling of the genetic material of the planet in its entirety, as some groups at least apparently believe they want to search for a particular strain or gene marker or something. And maybe it can have to do, Joe, with what you mentioned. This makes me think of, I mean, all kinds of movies where it's always about the particular child or something. And for some reason, I'm even thinking of the Kwisatz Haderach now from Dune, you know, the particular, the special genetic child, let's say, everyone is looking for.
Yeah.
Dude, even that movie, Secret of Lorenzo Oil, totally. Is this obscure enough? I don't know, 1992 movie. But there's this kid and he's gonna die, and they have to find him this like the secret oil that's gonna save his life, and then he's got this cure for adrenoleukodystrophy using like I forget if it's like olive oil or something weird like that. But yeah, similarly to that. To an extent. I mean, obviously the main difference is he's like made divergent, and you have to like regress it back to the natural, his natural super origin, because like all of these environmental effects that are some of these stories like X-Men and most of the American comic books are about how if you take a chemical, like Barry Allen took this drug and he was in a lab and now he is the Flash. I think every American comic book started out this way up until the 60s. In the 60s, you get bit by a spider. Before that, it was you were messing around with chemicals, and now you're the superhero, right? But so there's the X-Men, and it's even sadder. It's like they're just a product of their parents taking chemicals. You know, it's a secondhand chemical thing. But but then, you know, now it's become it's like, hey, these environmental effects, they could make you fly. It's not necessarily you're going to get cancer and die young.
Yeah.
It's a superhero thing.
It could make you a superhero.
That's the mutation you want. I don't know.
Well,
sink or swim.
What I like is in that comparison, the story of Superman, because the Superman has the S on the chest, the IS, you know, because he is the I, the E, the middle, and the S on the chest. So this is IS coming.
Can you, where's the I? What am I missing here?
The I is himself.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Go and look into sunset. Give us a sunset picture, please.
Sorry.
Sunset on the ocean.
Ocean. There you go. With Superman or just a regular picture?
No, just to see the eye.
Oh, okay.
Just to see the eye. You see the picture that you had just now?
This is kind of like an eye too, the dot with the line. But
yeah, it's the sun, the beam right in the middle. There's the small one.
Oh, there you go. You see the line and the dot.
Where you see the letter I. Yeah, here it is.
Boom. There we go.
Find the I. Okay? So every one of us is such a solar being. like the letter I. The dot would be Golgotha, the goal-getter, the head, the skull. This is the dot of the I.
The lowercase
Okay.
I.
And so every one of us is such an I, and the IS is the Superman story. This is Jesus. There is some original biblical sentences in the movie of Superman. I wouldn't believe that once I watched it.
Oh, it is totally, yeah. The mythology behind Superman, obviously the fact that
Jesus.
Superman in German is Übermensch, there's a very Nietzschean concept there. But also he's
Yeah.
Jewish. He's not blonde and blue-eyed. He's this Jewish guy, according to
This
the
is
writers.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is that scene where he's up in space, like dead, and the sun would heal him, and he's hanging there in space, like on the cross.
Oh,
And,
Death of Superman. Hold on.
He's coming from Kryptonite, and Krypton.
From Krypton.
Yeah, Krypton is another word for encryption. So that we are in Egypt again. The hieroglyphs and all the cryptic letters and words in the legal system.
Could it be the crypt of Newt? You just brought it up, Andreas, yesterday, I think.
The Newt?
Because night, Newt.
Yeah. The
Crypt of Newt.
Egyptian god of Newt. Yeah. And once he is being in contact with kryptonite, then he is weakened. And so the krypton, when you swallow the legal fiction, this is like Superman eating kryptonite. When you leave the krypton principle, then you are Superman, any one of us. This is Jesus. And Superman versus Batman, the last big story, would mean the final battle between Jesus and the beast, the system. Batman is the negative projection of Mund-Nasenschutz, FFP2 mask. You see?
Maybe.
So Batman is fighting with the police. Batman is the hero of the night. Batman is the system.
Well, I hope that, did they do a Death of
Jesus.
Superman movie yet? So I'm kind of a nerd. I mean, I've read some comic books, and so the comic book that they really need to do is the Death of Superman, and this is the one where Batman ends up having to save Superman. I mean, I feel like this must almost be out yet. I don't know if I'm going to do a spoiler for a movie they haven't made yet or something, but shocker. The deal is that Blitzkrieg, created by Jeff Bezos, just kidding, Lex Luthor, has this. He's got this clone of Superman. What's his name again? I said Blitzkrieg, which is, what a name. But Blitzkrieg, Superman. Show me Superman and Blitzkrieg. Should be right next to each other. Am I spelling this wrong? Baron Blitzkrieg. All right, this is the supervillain in the DC comics from Earth 2. And there's a number of these examples where Superman has to fight against Blitzkrieg. So it's like an anti-Superman. It's like the hyper Nietzschean Superman. And so he has a dualistic quality. And you even see in the background, look at that flag there telling you what's going on with the world too. They have this idea about if there was an alternative to the Superman. But
someone in chat just brought up a guy called Doomsday, which is apparently in the last, maybe this is related somehow.
Right. I mean, Doomsday, thank you. Because Doomsday is what I was supposed to be going on about a second ago. It's about Bezos' clone. Doomsday is the one in Death of Superman. Let's see. It looks like they have an animation of it, so I should check that out. But Doomsday is like a Superman clone that has bones coming out, like metal, like shards out of his exoskeleton and things like that. I don't really have a good metaphor here. I just but maybe you do, Joe. Do you have thoughts about Superman versus his clone? Because it is I feel like this is the next big Superman movie. I don't know when this is coming out, but this will be the one.
I'm seeing that for the first time now. The Doomsday.
Yeah, and actually in this one, Superman dies, and then Batman has to save his life. I forget exactly what happens. He like wakes up at issue 2, like, and he's half naked. Where is that one too? Batman, Death of Superman with Batman. Yeah, because they're all his clothes are all ripped and stuff like that. So Batman's carrying him around. Yeah, he's like pretty much dead. But the thing is, the only person who can kill Superman or save Superman is Batman, right? Because it's like shark versus crocodile. Like a crocodile could spin, but a shark doesn't need to. It's not going to drown, So Batman, he knows with the computer everything about Superman. So he knows that all it takes is kryptonite. So you get some kryptonite, right? Superman, he's only as powerful as a locomotive. He's only able to leap over a tall building. He's only able to crush a planet. At a certain point, he's vulnerable. So even though he's more powerful, he's not quite as smart as Bruce Wayne. And so that's why Bruce Wayne would win, theoretically.
Yeah.
But yeah, the idea that Superman dies and he's brought back, and it's like Batman has to bring him back. It's like that's the next big movie.
Okay, yeah, very surprised about that. I would compare that with the bats in the night and the birds during the day. That both have their functions and their obligations, and they should not fight each other, because the bats are in the night and the birds are during the day. And when the birds start singing, like we do now, we start to sing about the rising of a special quality in God's light, taking us out of the careers we had, and we want to be free now. We reject all the material stuff because we want to be free and human beings, etc. And we should not rant against the bats that had the powers in the night. We are on the changing point now, where the birds are getting more and more, and the bats are getting less and less. They will distinguish. The bats will disappear. We have not to chase the bats away.
We need the bats to eat the mosquitoes, man. Tell you what.
Yeah, the bats are doing the best they can in the night. And the bats could be like Batman was fighting in Gotham City in the night, it's the dark side of the things. And when the second coming of Jesus would happen, the light of God would enlighten all his people, then the bats can disappear. So the church has no function anymore. There is that saying in German, bis du kommst in Herrlichkeit. I don't know the expression in English for that part of the Bible, but it's been waiting for.
Raph, what you got?
Along the lines of glory, I would say. So God's glory.
Glory to God in the highest, or something like that. No.
Talking about God, talking about death and resurrection until you come. This would be the translation of that in. I don't know how the English Bible.
Yeah, actually, translation here says God's glory, actually. So, yeah. Until you come in God's glory.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's what expected from us. That's what's being expected from us, to appear in God's glory and not in a legal fiction.
Yeah, so just to repeat this, and also I understand it. So the saying basically goes, this and this, whatever legalese, Catholic law, blah, blah, until the humans reassume their sovereignty in God's glory. And then it's done.
It's funny how important act of God is in American and English, and I imagine German law.
I always want to bring this up. Sorry, I have to say it again, because I think that act of God, maybe even Joe, we talked about this in insurance law. If I remember this correctly, then in insurance law, they always say, we cover all of this, except, of course, acts of God.
Well, there are policies that cover acts of God, but that's the most
really.
Yeah. They're not a lot, and they're very expensive. But there are certain policies that are very expensive, like
in
Lloyd's
German,
of London. What does London will
In
do?
German, this would mean höhere Gewalt.
Exactly. And I just wanted to point out, it's always the question, what do you define as act of God? Or do you maybe have secret weapons that can look like act of God or false flag or something? Then it's good for insurance fraud, So,
Okay,
but, yeah.
so who's the guy? You guys ever watched The Addams Family? I swear
Yes.
this is related to acts of God. You won't believe it, but is it the Addams Family or the Munsters? The Munsters, maybe. The Munsters. The uncle, grandpa. Is it? Yeah, grandpa. Okay. We're getting there. So played by Al Lewis. Here we go. Al Lewis was an insane man who ran for president or Congress and sued God at one point because he was so sick of all these acts of God, and he was trying to get a class action lawsuit together because he's like, God is blowing up people's houses, knocking out neighborhoods, and nobody's ever tried to go up against God. So he tried to take God to court, but he couldn't serve God a subpoena. So that was the main reason it didn't work out. But the thing that's interesting here is we live in a society that keeps pushing this idea of atheism, the lack of a God and everything else, except for in all of the key and essential practices. For instance, freaking law. Like in law, things are defined by acts of God, defined by we have
derived from God, even entirely, no?
Derived from God. And then so when people argue this point, atheists, constitutionalist atheists, still propose we keep the legal God. They might not believe in a spiritual God, but the idea of a non-human creator or endower of rights or all of these things or a destroyer of properties, those they don't want to get rid of that concept. So it's the act of God is one of the most essential pieces of the political science puzzle.
Well, this is very interesting for the critical listener, because when you think of democracy, like we practice that on the planet, democracy tells the people that they are the source of everything. Like the powers of democracy derive from the people. But it can't be true. And once you think about this logically, here is the proof. No one on earth has ever had the right to tax any other. And once you don't have something, you cannot delegate that. You cannot give it further, give it on to the next. You cannot mandate what you don't have.
So what about the order of Melchizedek, right? Because according to a bunch of people, the whole idea of taxes, they think the order of Melchizedek comes back to God allowing these priests to tax. They don't have a right?
That's what I'm going to, because it's called Leitungsgewalt in the canonic law. Leitungsgewalt, which is also called Jurisdiktionsgewalt.
Here it says power. Managerial authority, although that's probably a wonky translation.
That sounds about right, though. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And it is written in the canonic law that these powers derive from God.
Dude, the covenant of everlasting priesthood is called the Brith HaKahuna. It sounds very Hawaiian, doesn't that?
Yeah, it's very Hawaiian. Yeah, and so to tax any other, this is coming from God. The church says that in the law. No one has ever had the right to tax others or to imprison others. No one has the right, and so no one can give that right.
Wait. They don't. You don't think that the order of Melchizedek has the right, or what are you saying here? Because they say they do. They're just lying.
Yeah, the priests gave that right to themselves by saying so.
Okay.
And once
hubris, no?
What's their story though? Don't they have a thing? They're like, and then it had to be the son of Noah, like his Noahide, right? I think that's the deal. So first you've got Noahide. Everyone dies. The people who don't, they have to follow the laws of their grandfather-in-law, whatever. And then Shem is the son of Noah. Melchizedek is of the son of Noah. And so because of that, of the firstborn or something like that. And his job is to do the tax collection. And instead of 10 commandments, you have to follow 7 because there are these 7 ideas that even if you're not a Jew, you still have to follow these 7 rules, right? The Noahide rules. And so that's where they start taking over everything, that's because everyone who didn't follow those rules were drowned, right? Isn't
Yes, and once you follow these rules, once you follow all these rules, then you prove that you are not in God's glory. As long as you follow all these rules that are coming to you from the outside, then you prove yourself as as not in God's glory.
You know what? There's a really good Bible verse that corroborates your Bible verse. Let me see. Defile. Where's that at? Moment. There it is. If you cut the stone, if you make an altar of stone, you shall not build of cut stones. If you wield your tool on it, you will profane it. And this is a bigger metaphor. There's a number of verses about this idea, but God's reality is natural. And if you go in there and you try to carve it up into a cathedral and you carve it into rules and you try to make the eternal Tao into a knowable Tao, then that will end up will end up defiling, profaning, and upsetting God, right? So
this is also indicating we are as a spirit, as a being, as a creature, we have different roles. We are on the one side the actor, on the other side we are the viewer, the Beobachter, and we are also the creator while we are the watcher. And so the spirit has some functions of watchers while the others are doing. And so this is the mirror of spirit itself. We see that in the material world. And so the number of churches on the planet, the number of different religions on the planet would be like an indication for the watching spirit, part of the spirit, how far the night is developed, or let's say how far away the dawn would be. Because when the dawn is coming, all the religions will be no longer necessary. All the nations, all the kings, all the written laws, they will not be necessary anymore once God will come awake again. And this is what we're waiting for. All the cultures, they're all waiting for the awakening of the spirit, the great awakening, the second coming, the whatever you call it.
It's interesting because you think about, so the order of Melchizedek and taxes also connects to Noah, and Noah and Shem is in the second, I think the grandson, and that's the Melchizedek is the generation when the Tower of Babel is built by Nimrod, and the language is divided, and everyone has a hard time communicating. So we have someone with hubris saying they have taxes, they have the right to tax you, and they feel really confident about it. Just complete collapse of society under God. Like they're the next consequence. What are your thoughts on the Tower of Babel and all that?
Just one related thing. Someone in chat wrote something interesting, and I think it's an important link. And Naturdesign wrote, when we assert our rights by registering the rights, we transfer the right of management to a third party. Thus, that other party gains control over my life. So, though the question is, just like you said, with the story of the order, did it start by drowning everyone? And that's why now, genetically still, in some ancestral memory, everyone is afraid not to pay taxes. In the US, the effing IRS will come after you. So, it's not, it's not fun. Yeah.
Well, and then there's the idea of the belligerent claimant. So you do not have any rights unless you take them. This is something very important. You do not have anything unless you take it in this world. So in America, we call this the belligerent claimant. And you can read articles about being a belligerent claimant, but it amounts to, if you think you have rights and you don't tell people what they are, you don't have those rights. You have to, the Miranda rights doesn't really work. They don't have to really read you. You have the right to remain silent. That's a TV show. What they do have to do, however, is, accept it. If you belligerently claim your constitutional rights, your human rights, your civil sovereignty rights, if you belligerent, that's the only way. And so you have to know your rights.
I think Joe has some experience in this. Maybe you can talk about this a little bit.
Well, the only solution would be rejecting all the rights. Reject them, because any right that is written down, given to me, is a insultation.
It's an abridgment of your actual freedom because it's a
Yes.
definition of a time, place, and manner. Yeah.
Yeah. But I acknowledge that it was necessary to write down all that stuff, and that people follow the laws during the time of darkness. This was okay. But once you get enlightened by whatever, and you think of that, and you find that you are a child of God and not want to be a fiction anymore, then you have to do something. And the way out is acting and behaving like Jesus did. There's no other way to the Father than through me. And this does not mean that the people have to claim that they are Jesus, but to act like Jesus.
Right. Sovereign.
Spiritually and intellectually awakened human being would act like Jesus. And this is been waiting for by the powers to be. And they are not bad or good, but it's just the powers that be at the moment.
Waiting for the autonomous individual to evolve into
Yes.
like a form. Right.
Yeah. And once the individual comes and says, I'm child of God and I am connected
Sovereign.
to creation and there will be no harm from me, then you are a free being of God. And they are
Act like
waiting
you
for
know
that. This is
who
what
you
I
know
want to
you
say.
are.
Yeah,
Again,
you
Raph?
have to know who
Oh,
you
yeah.
are, what you are, and how many.
But Joe, Raph had insinuated, maybe you've had some experiences with, defending your sovereignty or anything. Do you have any?
In terms of belligerent claimant, because I think it could be different, but it's still, it's darkest before dawn, I guess, Joe, about this. So just because Andreas brought up the idea of belligerent claimant, just in terms of, there is this even, I think, still popular video on YouTube called Never Talk to the Police, which maybe is a simple entrance into many of the topics that you also very practically had to deal with, only if you want to tell any stories or anything that's been most valuable. I just thought about it because Andreas said belligerent claimant, and you certainly know how to claim your position properly, to position yourself accordingly. And many people don't know this, and they get into all kinds of trouble. You didn't, so you did something right.
Can you share one of your experiences? Yeah.
Well, I have, of course, many experiences, but they are not that spectacular like you would expect it to be. I know I know some videos where they say I don't answer any questions. This is like so concerning dealing with the police. I don't answer any questions, but this is kind of kindergarten, because once you realize that you are a sovereign being, a all-in-one concept, like you are everything, you are all, you are alpha and omega, then you will stop arguing with your confronting brother, with your confronting part of yourself, because you're talking into a mirror. And my approach to that is people should try to heal their relations to their fathers and to their mothers, because the conflict with the father is being shown in the mirror by the state, by the nations, and the conflict with the mothers are brought up in the mirror by the church. So it's mother church and father state. Once you have troubles with your father state, then heal your relations to your fathers, or heal the father, the role of the father, by being the best father that you can be. Once your father has died, then maybe you can't heal the relation to your father. Then be the best father you can be, and the father state will not be a problem for you anymore. I think this is
it came up yesterday, the idea of der Geist in die Zeiten, the Zeitgeist and the Weltgeist and the Volkgeist, kind of there's the spirit of our time, the spirit of our nation, the spirit of our world, and the spirit of ourself, and they're kind of in a confluence and an interaction. And so much of it's about what the spirit of the self aligns with, whether it be with the nation, the world, or the times, you know.
Yeah, it's all concepts. The nation is a concept, time is a concept. So when you identify with the concept, you can't be in that holiness that we have been talking about. You have to realize that you are a breathing spirit in eternity, that once you are not there anymore, then someone can say he's dead. But you have to be out of sight at the moment that someone can say you are dead, so that what defines you is still there, but not connected. Let's say once we die, the body loses the connection to the life itself, but life itself is eternal. We cannot die in that way that we have been told by whoever.
What is the deal with the human spirit, the Geist? Do it lasts? It's immortal, or is the memory gone? Like, what do you believe about the Geist? Ooh, Frozen. And also, Raph sent me a link. I'll pull it up while he's defreezing.
Yes,
I believe in the
unfreezing.
potential. In
Joe, start it over because you got frozen for about 20 seconds.
Okay. It was cold. Oh, it was cold. I think that we are simply potential, godly potential, like a frequency, like the possibility of something. And the possibility of something can never be not. The possibility is eternal. And sometimes our frequency is able to incarnate, let's say, to manifest itself in a body and to build a body around. So to say, the body would be the middle of the spirit, the material middle of the spirit. When you say the whole, what's the mens sana in corpore sano.
Healthy spirit in a healthy body.
Healthy body, yes. This is wrong. It should it has to mean the sane body would be in the sane spirit, or the healthy body would be in the healthy spirit, not the other way around. Because our spirit is anywhere, because he's nowhere not. We can think to any place we want, and our ghost, our spirit, our consciousness, our cinemascope in behind the eyes, or whatever we want to call it, is already there. We can think to the moon, we can think to under the seas, we can think to anywhere. And this is the proof that spirit is anywhere and is able to draw the body after himself. To when I know where Vienna is, I can drive to Vienna because my spirit is already there. It has to bring the body, but the spirit is already there. And so the spirit will always move the body and not the other way around. So it cannot be that the spirit is in the body. Otherwise, we would not be able to move. It would not be able, because the body would,
I love to
define.
Vota einen Sekunde. We have some super chats. Seth says, many thought Moses would be the final software update. Why do we assume there won't be another update post Jesus? Well, I mean, the Muslims thought that there was another after Jesus, which is the post update of Moses. And then Joseph Smith is a pretty interesting software update as far as I'm concerned. A lot of expanded. It's kind of like a expanded universe, or what do you call it? Like the DLC, where they like expand the game.
Downloadable content. Yeah. Do you know Joe LDS? He's talking about the Latter-day Saints, Mormonen, because they have really interesting, stories. Let's say.
Ja, ich liebe Ich liebe dir, Mamonin. And then also great guest, by the way, says Seth. Awesome. So yeah, you're loved. Very good.
Yeah, I think this would be the explanation for what's happening when one house, in the astrological terms, one house would be 2,160 years in the big circle. So that would mean that every 2,160 years, approximately, we will get an update. And the update collectively by changing the house, because the other house is another meaning, is another Güte. What's the word for Güte in English?
Quality. Yeah.
Quality, yes. There's another quality in the other house.
Goodness.
This is like turning the color to the next color, Once you're blue and then you get into green, or you get into yellow, you get into red. This is another quality. And then you would say, oh, we're getting an update, because now we see the red things are visible and the blue things are gone because the color changed.
But so much is lost in these updates. It's crazy. We look at these, when you look at Tartaria information, you have these lost civilizations, and we just bury, you go to parts of Austria where the plague, it's just cathedrals are underneath the street because they just paved over it and moved on. So much is lost in these updates.
Yeah, crazy. And this is just like when I sleep and I dream, and suddenly I have to go to the toilet while I dream, then I break the dream. I say, okay, pause the dream. I go to the toilet, and maybe I can dream on at the same time with the same scene where I stopped dreaming, or I have to start from scratch and find a new dream, but it's the same night. And from that point of view, maybe we have several mud floods, toilet walks,
right,
while it was dark, but it's still a dream. So it's not truth, it's fiction.
Interesting.
And when spirit decides to have a break in the civilizational creation, maybe it gets on like after such a mud flood. I saw all the pictures that I could see by cities that are mudded, half mudded, like 5 meters or 10 meters in mud. What happened? I don't know. Maybe it was a toilet walk of the spirit while he was dreaming, and it was a break, like a pause in the dream, and then it dreamt on, like my little child does that. Sleeping, then says, oh, I'm awake, I have to go to the toilet, and then he sleeps on, and I don't know if he dreams on at the same story or if it's a different story.
Well, they
what
seem
I
to
know
think
is
that
when I wake up,
excuse
me, when I wake up in the morning, then I can't remember my dreams. I don't remember. And this is like a solution or a consolation for many people, maybe, that once the whole mankind has woken up, then maybe we cannot remember all the cruelties and all the murders and all the things that happened during the last ages. Maybe we don't remember once we wake up out of that dream. And it is a dream because it's not the truth, it's fiction.
I would like to suggest
fiction, everything is possible.
That there may even be studies on this. I can just talk from anecdotal evidence. It's certainly necessary to change your perception without even forcing it. Even first, accepting, looking at all these things. I mean, we have some time, we have more time to do that, but that eventually people really can start remembering suddenly just positive things about their past. Whereas before they may have been depressed and thought about all these things, why they feel guilty and bad and ashamed and whatever.
Yeah.
And then they change their perspective, their own state of being, and they
I
think
was
back.
Cleopatra. Yeah.
No, well, yeah, that would be from the parallel other life, but just that randomly, naturally, only positive remembrance suddenly comes up. So there's certainly something to this, or what you said, yeah.
I also think it's interesting that people's dreaming is so brief. So You're falling and falling and falling and falling through your dream for days. And you wake up and you just fallen off your bed or something, you know, because it took like a few seconds. So, and kids will get upset when you wake them up for school. Like, I was having the best dream. Well, you literally probably just had that dream because they were shaking you to wake you up. So for like a second, you had this long dream, but you're like, wow, that dream was so convoluted. I was for days working in a salt mine, and you know, I had a girlfriend, and then I was paying child support in my dreams, you know, like the dreams get long. But then imagine being dead, or you know, the idea of a dream that lasted more than a few seconds, because if it lasted 6 minutes, that could be a lifetime.
And like Inception.
Right. And so this idea that you have these dreams that last forever and come with all of these supplied fantastic memories. This is your Geist.
This is where we are.
Yeah, this is your Geist on experience. Whether they're real or not, those are the parameters for you to make choices with. So you can use it and say, wow, I really care about, I love history. I think about history all the time, but also be aware that everything before this moment is probably just part of the meta of being here so you can be here now. It's really the only thing that matters.
Oh yeah.
Actually, I should pull up this thing because I got a link from Raphael. What is this, Raph?
Oh, I'm sure you know about this. Just because you spoke about the legal stuff earlier and Joe spoke about resurrection, I believe this is the act. I cannot claim that I can actually understand the legalese written there, but from what was referred to me, this is the act where they supposedly trace back the idea that after 7 years of, let's say, physically being incarnated, you're legally declared as driftwood, basically. And that's why everyone is treating you as a thing. And they always trace it back to this particular act. It's interesting, of course, 1666. I mean, good morning and good night. But this is where they then claim, and then some people say, of course, you know, they trade with your value in the background or whatever. But this would just be the basis to kind of give credence to this idea of admiralty law and why everyone is being treated as a person or a thing, because you're basically dead, declared dead by the Matrix before you can claim otherwise. Because at 7 years old, who can know about this? Yeah.
Weird. So it says Sweet K v Act 1666.
I'm surprised you don't know about this. Joe, have you heard about this? Do you know about this? Yeah. Maybe you can explain it a little bit. If Andreas didn't know, I'm surprised you didn't know about this.
Yeah, this is part of the legal fictional game.
I think Victor did a thing on this about personhood. Yeah, explain what this is. I'll read it if you want. Also, let me read the first lines for people. An act for redress of inconveniences by want of proof of the deceases of persons beyond the seas of absenting themselves, upon whose lives estates do depend. Recital that says sweet KVs have gone beyond the sea, and that revisioners cannot find out whether they are alive or dead. So if they're okay, so this is if someone's disappeared at sea for 7 years, that they're declared legally dead. I do know about this. I thought you meant at 7 years old.
Yeah,
I think it's at 7. No, I think there's a limit.
No, but this is that whereas diverse lords of manors and others have granted estates by lease for one or more life or lives, or else for years, determinable upon one or more lives or lives, and it hath often happened that such a person or persons for whose life or lives estates have been granted have gone beyond the seas, or so absented themselves for many years. So if you go missing for 7 years, for many years, the lessors and the revisioners cannot find out whether such person or person be alive or dead. This is Castaway with Tom Hanks.
Actually, it says 7 years on part 1. There's actually says 7 years, just so you know, on the bold.
Yeah, right here. Yeah. I know that rule. Yeah, because like there's infinite numbers of movies back to the 1950s about guys going missing for 7 years, and then they come back and they're like legally dead, right?
They're no person anymore.
They're no longer. Yeah, so that's the deal. If you can escape the system for 7 years, then you're out of Facebook jail. But I don't know. So in other words, if you're 7 years old and you've been hidden from society by your parents for 7 years. So if you make, because 5 or 6, they make you go to kindergarten, but at 7 years,
the thing is, I think this is the default thing that they use as a pseudo legal excuse in the background, because no one knows how to file the proper claim by when they're 7 years old. That's how I understood it. But please, Joe, please explain.
Yeah.
I think it has something to do with the using of reason, because
Nice. Yeah.
In the canonic law, there's the definition of a child by fulfilling the seventh year. Then you are able to use your reason. And until you're able to use your reason, you cannot be supervised or reigned. So you have to be treated like a child. When you're able to use your reason, then you are able to be governed, because you are governed by reason. This is called rational law. Was heißt Herrschaft?
Reign or
Regency.
authority? Yeah,
Yeah.
regency. Yeah.
Regency.
Rational regency. And this is the definition for how people are being enslaved on the planet at the moment. It's by their own reason. And once you are not 7 years old, you are not able to use your reason. And so until the fulfillment of your 7th year, you have to be treated like a child. And the church has no ability to catch you. They have to wait for 7 years until you're able to be reasonable, because then you understand the meaning of the laws and what's written, and then you can be fined. Before that, you cannot be fined for not fulfilling what's written in the laws. This is my opinion of how it comes to the 7 years in that act. And so you are a missed ship, or a missed thing on the seas, driftwood. Genau.
Interesting. But also used so that if you stop interacting with society at a certain point in general, so you don't have to be 7 years old. You could just be in general. This is what's used if you leave for 7 years. So if you're old, you could also do this. You don't have to be a child. But if you're a child, all the better, because then you're free.
Well, the way I understand this is the default assumption that starts running once you're born. This is the way I understand it. It's like degrading your legal status by default by the time you're 7 years old.
This is a good thing, though. See, here's the deal: if you have the benefits of society, you have the obligations of society. If they destroy your social security number, they no longer own the taxes that they would accumulate from the value of your working citizen taxpayer. So this could be a benefit if you're looking for sovereignty, but you'd literally need to spend 7 years, a Saturnalia, away from the courts and from the benefits of the society that's offering it to you. Because if they could point to anything and say, hey, they're benefiting from the society still, then they could say that they're not legally dead. And so dead would be, that's the word I'm trying to do right now. I'm going to the Black's Law Dictionary, DEAV, DEAT. I don't see death. It should be right here. Why is death not in the Black's Law Dictionary? That is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so we need a good definition of death, because death legal definition. And I wanted the Black's Law Dictionary. I don't have a copy with me right this second. Legal death. There we go. Wiki even cares. The legal death is the recognition under the law of a particular jurisdiction that a person is no longer alive. Interesting. Shouldn't the dead be dead? Okay, so in other words, other people have thought about this a few times themselves, that they're not always actually dead to be dead. So death is just a legal concept. That's cool.
Yeah. Yes.
And that might be what they mean when they say somebody doesn't have to die. A person who has been missing for a sufficiently long period of time, usually several years, that should be 7, it should say, may be presumed or declared legally dead, usually by a court. When a death has been registered in a civil registry, a death certificate may be issued. Such death certificates may be required in a number of legal circumstances. Presumption, false declaration. There are 3 general categories where people may be falsely declared dead: mistakenly, fraudulently, punitively. Historically, those who have committed crimes other than wrongs against the state have been declared legally dead despite being obviously alive. This is known as civil death. Such a person loses all rights normally granted to a person in jurisdiction that practiced civil death. It was legal to kill such a person since they were not legally recognized as alive anymore. Yeah.
Welcome to fairyland. I mean, the bad kind. But one other thing, I just sent a link which relates to this, and I think it's cool and relatable for everyone to bring up. I sent it in chat too.
Dude, legal death, civil death. There could be a really good sci-fi movie. I don't want to tell too many people because they should make me write it, but I could imagine just, hey, legally dead. No, do what you want with them. Does the all capital letters and names matter? Oh, yes, of course, Capitis Diminutio Maxima. Where are we going with this? Where do you want to?
So just read the first two definitions, maybe. So especially Greg's Manual of English. That's the one I wanted to get at.
Okay, I'll do both here. So the omission of the Christian's name by either plaintiff or to defendant in a legal process preventing the court from acquiring jurisdiction, or a name spelled in all capital letters or a name initialed is not a proper noun denoting a specific person, but is a fictitious name or a name of a dead person or a nom de guerre. So that's pretty good. Let's also do Capitis Diminutio Maximus, just in case. So when you
and maybe also just go back briefly and scroll down and read what fictitious means, because that's also really good.
Yeah, I'll go right back to it. I just wanted to also make sure I cleared up that in ancient Rome, if someone's name was written in all lowercase letters, they were a slave. If someone's name was written with a capital at the beginning, they were a free man. If someone's name was written in all capital letters, they were slaves or infamia. They'd had all their rights had been removed, right? So not just a regular slave, because a slave would just have his letters in lowercase letters, but someone who had rights and had them removed, that's a all capital lock thing. Okay, and then fictitious.
Here it's on this side already. Black's Law Dictionary, fictitious.
Yeah. By the way, everyone needs a Black's Law Dictionary. That is the most important book that you can own. The fictitious name, a counterfeit alias, feigned or pretended name taken by a person, differing in some essential particular from his true name, consisting of a Christian name and a patronymic, with the implication that it means to deceive or mislead.
Fictitious.
And maybe, Joe, you can bring up the German version of this book. I'm sure you know it.
Rechtsbuch. The book is called Juristisches Wörterbuch by Gerhard Köbler, Verlag Wahlen. Juristisches Wörterbuch Gerhard Köbler.
I'm having a hard time trying.
You need an umlaut. Gerhard, so G-E-R.
Wrong one.
Wait,
send me just send it to me. And then I can feel bad about failing at spelling.
I sent it in chat. Those two things.
Gerhard Kubler. I could have done that. I suck. That would have been easier. Okay.
And then Juristisches Wörterbuch, you have to add that. So it's like law dictionary.
Almost there. Almost there. Okay.
Yes.
And then boom. There we go.
Yeah.
Let me do my
oh wow. No, that's a blast from the past.
This is an old one, yeah. Actually, we are, I think, at the 16th or 17th edition.
Let's see here. So so this is the law book.
Yeah.
This is the Black's Law Dictionary equivalent for Austrians and Germans.
For the German language, yes.
Very cool. Yeah, it seems essential.
Yeah, this is really essential, because otherwise you would not understand the meaning.
Right, of the words.
Hear a word and think you know what it means, but once you don't know the definition, then you can't talk to the legal system in their own words.
We have to look into this more too, because the legal, so in English already, like the legal language of English works around having ambiguous words. So the words being so many things, and you've noticed, I noticed this anytime I talk to a German person or an Austrian, they're looking for the perfect word for something in English. And then they go, oh yeah, it's English. There's no such thing. It's still perfect word in English. It's a joke. But with German, there's a perfect word for everything. So I imagine that the legal trickery would be done in specificity and having really particular words that mean things rather than just like hyper ambiguous concepts like in English. I could be wrong, but it might be a completely different game.
Well, I find the definitions in the legal system, they are very wise.
Right, there you go.
Once you get the emotions out, and you read that very yeah, with some kind of distance, then you find out it's very wise what's written down there. Like I said in the beginning, the definition of freedom, for one example, this is very, very wise. To say freedom means that you have the possibility of unbordered Entfaltung. You know? So we can learn many, many truths out of the definitions, because wise men sat down and thought about how could we define it, that it doesn't interfere with other definitions, that it works as a sole word in all the other definitions. And this is very wise. It's a wise concept. And once Jesus would come again, he would say, okay, I came to fulfill what's written down, not to destroy what's written down. We want to fulfill what's written down. And it's written down that the Son of God will be a free living being and will not be under the rule of law, not man-made law, because this is fictional.
Right.
Yeah. The geistig-sittliche Mensch. I don't know the saying in English, and I'm sure it's
The
it's
spirit
defined in
of
the
the man of the what kind of man?
geistig-sittlich. That
I'm
means
looking
that
it
you
up, yeah.
are
Sieglich.
a moral being,
Oh yeah. Okay.
a moral person. You know, but once you're not a natural or a legal person, then you are a moral person. Because person would be an expression for a body vibrating. Sonare. Person. Person means to vibrate out of itself. Sonare. Then you are a moral person, and as a moral person, you are able to leave the legal system. Otherwise, you would only be an outlaw. But as a moral person, you are acknowledged or accepted as the Son of God. You have to act, and you have to act like that. Then you are not a legal person anymore. Then you are a moral person.
Right.
Yeah, and this is the definition in Menschenwürde. Was heißt denn das auf Englisch, Raphael?
Human dignity.
Human dignity. The definition of human dignity, there you find that the man in another role than in the legal person, man in the role of a moral person, is acknowledged as a free being, a sovereign and free being. I don't have the definition of human dignity, but yeah, you can look for that.
Yeah, what is the human dignity? Human dignity is the belief that one is rooted in his or her creation in the image and likeness of God.
Yeah, is it defined in the Black's Law Dictionary?
That would be nice. I gotta get myself a copy. I have it at home, but not here. Black's Law Dictionary. I should get a new one anyway, because I need to get like the newest edition, and I should get a copy of like the 9th edition again. Dignity. It's not like I say human dignity. An honor, a title, a station, or distinction of honor is for dignity in general. So a distinction of honor or a station.
I also sent you one more link to maybe, round this out in a sense, another definition. Oh, in this case, it's in German. What? Oh, I'm so sorry. I was literally sending you an empty page. I'm sorry.
This is the best 404 like error banner I've ever seen.
But here we go. It's
Hegelian Kampfgegende Fascismus.
It's still in the however you call it, search queue or something.
Here we go. Okay.
Yeah, so this
had to go.
No, it's just this one. So this is the German thing. I'm sure that Joe knows about this. It's just written so nicely in German to everyone who can read it. I can roughly translate it. So it's about being legally bankrupt, the definition of being legally bankrupt. And it's about the inability of a legal system to give justice to those subject to it. For example, a legal entity discloses legal bankruptcy when they appoint liars to the top, make scribblers or fraudsters clerks, or fraudsters cashiers, forgers clerks, imposters to to assessors and blackmailers assigned to legal supervision. An improvement among such circumstances may only be promised solely by the full return to commonly accepted values, for example, truth and freedom, and legal principles, for example, pacta sunt servanda, prohibition of arbitrariness, competition, and so forth. And I think it's just a beautiful definition of where we find ourselves globally, let's say, planetarily, let's say.
And you can think of the Reichsbankrott as an example of the dissolution of the Soviet Union. Whether it's true or not, I just mean the way it was presented was, that there was a political bankruptcy of the Soviet Union, an insolvency of their capacity to have authority, and so they used that as an excuse to collapse the Soviet Union and build the Russian Federation.
There you are. Go.
Oh, yeah.
Joe was there on on an image.
Already. Yeah.
Just scroll down a bit, you'll find it.
There's me. Yeah.
What? No, this isn't you, is it? What? No, here you
there
are.
on the
Here you are.
left,
Here you
yeah.
are.
Microphone.
There you are. What? That's crazy.
There you go. See, and it's quite some time ago, so you see who's been
Wow.
talking about this. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome, man. Well,
I
let me.
digged it up. Yeah.
I was gonna say, let me pull up your page again, also, so that people can find their way to your work if they go to.
Well, it's just Freeman Austria. Yeah, you find me on YouTube, on Facebook, and
Telegram too.
Instagram. Telegram too. Yes.
Make sure you're subscribed. If you put your links here, and if you chat me, also in the description, I've added this link. So if you guys look down here, it says Joe Kressel, and you can click on his link, and it'll take you directly there. If you guys send me the other links, Joe and Raph, I'll put his links there too. Also, I want to show Act Like You Know, a really sweet website, YouTube page here. Make sure you guys subscribe here. You can watch in German the Xirtus, in a nice Austrian affected tongue. The Tartaria revised doc is just
The full version will be released soon. Only 12 minutes to sync remain by Martin, and then we're gonna bring you the full 2-hour premium
so freaking
German
based.
presentation. Yeah.
I gotta come to Germany with a projector and just drive around in a Westphalia and just show it to people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then also Stellium, you did a Stellium talk, and we're going to do a Stellium talk soon. Hopefully we can set something up with them. Let's talk about that this week. But everyone, in the meantime, you can watch a really, really great talk done with Raph and Stelly here that, Mike Wilkerson.
No, it's just Stellium's presentation. I just dubbed it.
Oh, you dubbed this. Oh, this is dubbed.
This is like one of his main presentations. Yeah. I just synced it for him.
Oh, can you hear it? Is audio working?
No, it's not working.
Hold on, let me see. I can make
But
the
it's
audio.
fine. People will find it.
Hold on.
Zeit nach. Meine Wahrnehmung wurde permanent verändert und andere, welche diese Videos gesehen haben,
Dude, you could wake all of Austria right now and Germany. It's so good. It's so good. I'm pretty excited about that. So thanks, guys, for trying to help the world get this information spread. We're trying to universalize. We're tearing down this discommunication tower of Babel that they've built for us. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. It's falling. It's tumbling. Yeah.
Babylon fall.
Is there any other? Do you want to leave anyone with a piece of wisdom?
Or maybe music. Is there any music people can see? Because that's something relatable, even if they don't understand German so well. Is there anything people can find? Maybe they can. Music from you, Joe.
There are some songs, but there is no English song. The English song is Welcome to Freedom, and it's also in German.
German's good. I'm not going to listen to 99 Red Balloons. I want Luftballons. Der Kommissar. Come on. Where's the track? Send me the link. I'll put it in there somewhere. Where's that?
Yeah, Joe Kreisel on YouTube.
It's the same page? Okay.
There are some songs on that. Yeah.
I'll let me just pull that back up for just a second. Hold on.
And it's not Freeman Austria, but it's Joe Kreisel on YouTube. And there I have 3 songs online. Yeah.
I did it.
They're very nice.
E before I. I have to always wait. It took me right back here.
Freeman Austria again.
They're hiding you, man. Oh, here you are. Here. Okay.
Yeah, here it is.
All right.
These are 3 very nice songs.
Oh, this is gonna be cool. All right, don't get me in trouble. I'm seriously gonna listen to this. This is exactly what I was looking for. Thank you. Dankeschön. All right. Thanks very much, guys. I'll see you next time. Appreciate it very much. And make sure you check out Joe's work and watch some of that German video. And if you have friends who speak German, send them some of those videos so they can get on the same wave as us, dudes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Peace. Auf Wiedersehen.
Peace and
Thank
love.
you.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Hey, everybody, tune in to Recent Tartarians.
Recent Tartarians. Recent Tartarians. Recent Tartarians. Recent Tartarians.
everybody, tune in to Recent Tartarians.
Recent